I write about the relationship between food and cities. It means trying to understand how cities are fed and to talk about the fact that how they're fed is really fundamental to how civilization has evolved. There's roughly 10 million people living here. That's about 30 million meals a day that have to somehow arrive in the city. Who grew it? You know, how was it transported? How does it physically arrive at every one of us so that we can eat? This is an extraordinary miracle, actually, that happens every day. Food is life, and that is a complex, self-sustaining thing that we need to sort of engage with. It's about having lots of species that have grown up through millions, billions of years to mutually support one another.
Mensen vinden het mooi om over the next new thing te praten. Wij vinden het mooi om heel veel mensen kleine stapjes te laten zetten in de weg naar een gezondere, veilige, betere wereld. En of het dan gezonder voedsel wordt, of dat het een betere productiviteit van voedsel wordt, of dat het een betaalbaarheid van voedsel wordt. Als de overal behoefte aan voedsel groter is dan de beschikbaarheid van voedsel, dan gaan daar ergens concessies gemaakt worden. Dus ik zie dat spanningsveld, voedsel, gaat een groter spanningsveld worden, net als water. Omdat we simpelweg te weinig ervan gaan hebben om iedereen te kunnen voeden.
Mensen worden bewuster over wat ze eten. We gaan bepaalde producten ontwijken. We raken ook met z'n allen redelijk goed geïnformeerd over wat goed en wat fout is.
Vroeger waren we altijd afhankelijk van grote partijen en dan heb je een soort voedselketen die eigenlijk in een soortement van trechter is, hè, waarbij een paar mensen beslissen wat wij als consumenten uiteindelijk eten. En je merkt gewoon dat de consumenten eigenlijk op zoek zijn naar weer opnieuw te verbinden met de plek waar ze wonen. En dat ze ja, gewoon daardoor ook weer willen weten waar hun eten vandaan komt en dat ze weer de hand kunnen schudden van degene die hen voedt.
In the last few years, supermarkets have lost some of their credibility because people they're not in touch with where the food comes from. It brings people to a closer relationship with the food and how it's grown. And then if a crop fails, then suddenly it's not there in the shop. And people realize that not everything is successful, not all the crops look the same. You get this illusion in the supermarket that becomes reality here.
We leven in een wereld, en ik vind dat een prachtig fenomeen, waarbij mensen zelf mondiger worden. En dat er zitten natuurlijk allerlei sociologische onderliggers liggen er aan de grondslag. Maar als je nu gaat kijken naar de mogelijkheden voor mensen om zich te uiten, die zijn natuurlijk legio.
Wat interessant is dat je steeds meer online concepten ziet die juist inspelen op die behoeften vanuit de consument.
We have a society that largely takes place online. Enormous increase in the amount of food that's ordered online. I mean, we've all done it. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's just fabulously convenient.
Je kan zoveel meer verbanden leggen. Online het is een 2-3-dimensionaal speelveld waar je verbanden kan leggen tussen bestaande product reviews, filmpjes over de boer waar dit product vandaan komt. Je kan die informatie veel makkelijker beschikbaar stellen dan alleen een stukje papier waar een product in verpakt is.
Right now, online retailers are really starting to try to understand what their experience with food will be. I'm a principal investigator at the MIT Media Lab. I run a group that looks at agricultural technology. When we go from 7 to 9 billion people when 80% of us are living in cities, we just have to adapt agriculture. It's funny, it looks weird. It's pink lights and LEDs and there's no soil and you're like, how is this possibly natural or normal or organic or all of the things that people are talking about in food right now? But from a plant perspective, it cares about the photosynthetically active part of light, which is that pink light. So the plant's super happy. It's just a new way of kind of interacting with those plants. What I think is really interesting and happening now and will happen more over the next 5 years will be growing completely underground.
So we're in a World War II air raid shelter 33 metres under London, and we are growing salads hydroponically using LED lights. The benefits of an operation like this and growing food underground is the fact not only the sustainable but also the environmental and social values of the business. From it being cropped by us lunchtime one day, it'll be on somebody's plate lunchtime the next day. We have a worldwide growing population. We have a carnivorous diet, which means we need places to graze that cattle and those animals. And we have a finite amount of farmland in the world, and so therefore it's about creating new space for growing. Certainly the use of agricultural technology will improve approaches to food in the future.
The technology behind food is basically chemistry. I guess I'm most known for culturing beef from stem cells. The way it works is we take a small sample of a skeletal muscle. We can extract a little piece of muscle, extract the stem cells of that muscle, and they will start, more or less miraculously, start to produce muscle tissue, even if they're not inside of the body. It's a much more flexible system once you start producing meat in the lab, much more flexible than a cow. So suddenly you have a whole flexibility in how you provide food for people and how people would be able to consume them. Even in a city, you can now start to grow meat. So there are lots of opportunities. What should be very important is that we are good custodians of our environment, so that we, for every production system that we use, every intervention that we use in agriculture, that we really think very carefully what the cycle of events is in that system, and whether we can make that into a circular system so that we don't waste any material permanently.
For me, sustainability is to go one step forward, is to create new environmental values. The production of food here is one important part of the whole system. We are in a farm that has a very important ecological role for the national park. Sustainability usually is an abstract concept. Most of the time when people talk about a sustainable system, they are talking about a production system. It's wonderful to come here and to work in a very natural place where we have the pink color of the flamingos, where we have ecological processes that are self-regulating. If you are able to give something to the ecosystem, at the same time produce your food, this is the real sustainability. But if we are able to give one part for the system and one part for the human, your system will be resilient and will be preserved for the future.
When I realized what food is, that was a game changer. When I realized what feeding kids could do in school, and that kids need quality nutrition, input equals output. That to me was critical. And this is a challenged community, a proliferation of health issues and a proliferation of a lack of opportunity, but also a tremendous wealth of human capital. So how do you maximize that human capital? And I realized that by putting gardens in front of the school and engaging citizens in these gardens would be the first step to creating an awareness, a bridge, if you will, to the community. And when kids understand the cause and effect and the feature, benefit, and advantage of healthy, fresh food, and parents understand it, we're gonna change the narrative, we're gonna change the demand. It's about quality of teaching, quality of learning, quality of life. Teaching kids to count is cool, but teaching them what counts is far more important in life and has a greater multiplier effect. And that's what this work is really about, growing something greater, planting seeds. In a community with limited means and limited access, to think that we can grow our own healthy, fresh, nutritious food right here in school, it's a game changer. And schools need to become the epicenter of communities. Healthy schools are at the heart of resilient communities. And schools that emphasize healthy living and healthy learning have a multiplier effect for the community. And that's really what we're doing. You know, we're not just giving food away here. We're inspiring hope, we're inspiring opportunity, and we're engaging the community around issues that are critical.
I don't think this is the time to put all our eggs in one basket.
We've evolved the system that makes it possible for us to live in this completely unproductive environment, and the food just magically comes in. I mean, that's incredible. And it's also problematic because it means that we don't think about food, and yet we need to think about food because if anything goes wrong with that miraculous system that we rely on, we're in trouble.
I very strongly believe that the future is in small mixed farming, because that creates the resilience and the strength for the farming enterprise.
If you apply this methodology, you will be solving ecological problems related with the welfare of the community. Try to open your mind and to diversify your methodologies. I think this is the big idea.
We need to sort of think about what we eat and how we grow it in that same way, so that the food systems that we produce are self-sustaining ecosystems, and therefore, we live within it. It's not like the food system's over here and we're here having our nice time. We're part of it too. And that's really the way we've got to reconceive the food system.
We've gone through this age of just there being doom and gloom, and now we're coming through to an age of solutions, and people are saying, okay, this is what we're going to do about it, rather than, woe is me, look at all the problems that we face. So I think people are becoming more militant in terms of, let's go and do something, and let's go and embrace change.
Where we're going to see a tremendous change, and I think cities are going to become hyper-productive. And whether it's using shipping containers and stacked containers and abandoned buildings. Listen, we've got empty cities across this country and around the world that are ripe and ready to become urban farms. And we've got an engaged citizenry that is hungry and actively looking for living wage employment. The conditions are ripe. We just have to nourish them.
You have to have people who don't have the economic ties, but also maybe even more importantly, not sort of the fixed mindset that things can only move very slowly in the food industry, that you cannot make radical changes because the consumer will not be able to accept them. I think that's a mistake.
And again, there's a lot of people, and myself included, that think that the way that we need to evolve is to get more people back into farming again. And to realise that farming isn't just farming, it's actually everything about the way we look after the land, and the way, we sort of make sure that it's still fertile for future generations.
But most importantly, when you move kids from consumers to producers, you change the way they see their place in life. They don't have to be at the bottom of the food chain, that they can move their way up and make healthy, impactful decisions that are going to benefit them and the world around them. And that's critical.
So one thing on what excites me the most right now, just that people care. Like, that's exciting. Like 20 years ago, you don't have the same conversation. If I was like, I'm gonna create these systems and they're for helping people grow food, they're gonna be like, what? Why? What we needed 20 years ago was a lot more cheaper food. And that's what we asked for, and that's what we got. And now people are like, oh, well, it has all these environmental externalities, and the way that we made that cheaper food available was by doing these things that I don't necessarily think are okay. Well, that wasn't the deal then. Everyone was just worried about having enough to eat and at a fair price. So now there are just so many people that care. That's exciting. That there's like a 5th grader and their parent in the general population that want to see something change. That's what makes change happen. So that's why the big companies now, it's not like the big companies are all evil and all this. It's like they want to give you what you want. If you're the consumer and you're saying, I want X, and it was 20 years ago, I want more, cheaper food. And now it's like, no, I want better food and I want to know that it's good for the environment. When you ask those questions as a collective, you will make the biggest companies move. and they're moving, and that's exciting to me.